Disclaimer, Dehancer did send me the software for free for me to review and to test, along with the photo software as well. So yeah, appreciate you, Dehancer. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. My name is Michael Taylor. If you don't know me, I'm a filmmaker and photographer based in Tacoma, Washington. Today I'm going to show you guys my color grading process using Dehancer. Now, it's no secret that my look emulates film pretty heavily, so I was pretty stoked when Dehancer reached out to me and asked to collaborate on this video. They did not pay me, nor are they telling me what to say about the software, so all my thoughts about the software are my own thoughts. And no one else is dictating those. And they're also not seeing this video before it uploads. Anyways, let's start with some pros. It's one of the best film emulators out there. Pro number 2, the grain. It's true grain. So what Dehancer does is that they fully study film and how it acts. They study the grain, they study the halation, they study how it goes through back and forth through the gate. They study everything. How each film stock interacts, how the color interacts, how the push-pull interacts with each different film stock. They study all of it, which is pretty cool, because honestly it's something I'm trying to emulate more in my work. Granted, it's definitely more of a stylized look, but even like color-wise, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful look. So the grain actually interacts with the image within the highlights, the midtones, and the grain. And the grain is different each time. And every time you choose the grain, it's completely different. And they got all types of flavors of grain, from Super 8 to Super 16, Super 35 full frame, I'm pretty sure. You can also customize the grain, so you can dial it back and forth. Personally, I like more grain in my highlights and midtones than I do in my shadows. So if you look at my color grading in my images, I have less grain in the shadows than I do in the highlights and midtones. The highlights I have it more prominent. But that's just how grain kind of reacts as well. If you look at film stock or even Polaroid pictures, if you look at the grain, there's almost no grain in the shadows. Sometimes there is, depending on the stock as well. Super 8 is a different thing. There's just grain in the entire image. But if you look at Super 16, which is my favorite film stock, this is like the grain barely shows in the shadows, but there's more grain in the highlights and midtones, which is super cool. But yeah, I just think it's really cool that each FPS of your frame, of your image, is different grain. Like, it's reading different grain. It's just not the same thing on repeat like an overlay. It's true grain, which is amazing. Or if you don't want the film grain and you want to add digital grain in the image, you can. Number 3, the halation. The halation is cool. You can adjust it just like the grain. I prefer the no remjet look, which I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea what that means. I kind of forgot. Let me look that up actually. Hold on. Oh my god, it got sent a ton of memes just now. What is no remjet? I hate Google's AI system sometimes, but I'm just gonna go with what it says. Remjet is a protective layer on the base of motion picture film that protects from scratches, static, light popping, and halation in the high-speed cameras. However, some films like CineStill's 50D and 800T do not have remjet backing. Yeah, I kind of prefer the look of no remjet, taking away that protective layer, because it gives more of a halation look and how halation actually reacts on film. But that's all like the main pros that kind of stood out to me of the product. So let's move on to the cons. So here are some of my cons I have with Dehancer. Number 1, the price. It is expensive. It's up there. I think it runs $450 USD, but I see why it's expensive. It is a certain tool. Like, it's only, if you know what you're doing, you can definitely like do some really cool creative stuff with it. But if you're just a beginner, you're trying to emulate film, there's cheaper options, but there's also more expensive options out there that I even use. And they offer less. So, but now that DaVinci Resolve released, I forgot what they call it, but their film emulator, it's like, where do these film emulators stand, you know? Anyways, that's another topic for another situation. Let me know if you want me to talk about that. This is Xena, everybody. Hi, Xena. I recommend doing your research before you dive headfirst into it, because it's very daunting. I honestly wish there wasn't as many options like to mess with. I know why there is, because I know if we didn't have those options, we would be wishing for some of them. But I don't use like 90% of the things that are on there, or maybe not 90, maybe like 50%. I think I use half and half. Since the other film emulator that I use has less options, but I feel like it's more user-friendly than Dehancer because I don't know, it's weird to explain. It's not as daunting, so it's easier to use, but they all have their pros and cons. This is a wedding that I filmed last month in Hawaii. It was a beautiful, gorgeous wedding. Couple was awesome. Personal friends of mine, amazing people. Anyways, so here's how I'd color grade this shot with only using Dehancer. Go ahead, drag, drop it. Again, looks ugly, but we're gonna fix that. I'm gonna bring this down to choose camera, select, and Sonic S1H. Because again, same process, same camera, yada, yada, yada. And again, looks okay, but we can fix it. That's exactly what we're going to do. So we're gonna come down, we're gonna choose our profiles. Honestly, we might go with a different profile. There's photo profiles in here, you know, like you got your portrait, you got your Cinestills, you got everything. You got Instax, you got, you know, Polaroid, you got all kinds of Fuji stuff, you got black and white, you got everything. That's not black and white. That's kind of cool look. You got a lot of stuff here, you know. We're gonna go 50D again. We're gonna adjust the push-pull with this. Kind of like that look with it. And we're gonna come up here to exposure comp, bring this down a little. Actually, I'm gonna bring it up some. We're gonna come here to temperature. Bring in that warmth, because again, I personally love the warmth look of it. Like that. Tint. Bring that up. And yeah. Again, enable. You gotta enable these things, y'all. I'm gonna boost this contrast. Like that. So we're gonna come down here to gamma boost. Bring that down a little bit like that. I'm gonna boost up these colors a little bit like that. Not too much because we don't want to destroy the image. Oh, we forgot something. We've got to choose our print, y'all. We're just gonna stick with Kodak. Contrast boost, we're gonna fix that. Go like that. White point. Looking at her dress, she's a little overexposed. So we can come down here to, so her dress is a little overexposed, so I'm gonna add a node, go to corrector. And honestly, I'm just gonna go to log and just bring down these highlights some to bring back that dress info. Boom. We go back to Dehancer, tonal contrast, bring that up some, color density, a little bit like that. Target white, we can fix the white balance like that. Just a little bit to make it a little more whiter, a little more white. Then I'm gonna adjust this white balance like that. Boom. And I'm gonna come down here. I'm gonna change this to, I'm gonna enable film breath. I'm gonna make it 65 though, and just bring it down a little bit. Gate weave, turn that on. They would love that. We're just gonna leave it. We're gonna adjust it to about there. We got to turn on halation, enable. We missed the most important part. Now, if you guys don't see what's happening to halation, look at the lights in the background when I turn it on and off. It like only affects the highlights and things around it. That's all halation does. I hate when I see people go overboard with halation. I'm not gonna lie, I've done it too. Halation only affects the highlights here. As you guys probably see in this talking head, there's only halation happening in the highlights, and in that lamp over there, there's some halation. Maybe on this desk here, but there's only halation happening like in the highlights. But boost it, boost that, John. Sorry, we can bring it back down here as well. I think I'm gonna go with, I'm gonna go Super 16. I love the way Super 16 looks. I'm not gonna enable the bloom too much for this. And again, shot in anamorphic, already have a lot of character to it. Now here's the fun part, here's overscan. Now, this is what's cool. We gotta enable it first. So that's the standard, you know. We got Super 8, which is cool because this actually moves with the image. And again, it was cool. I explained this in the intro already, but like Dehancer has, like they study film, they scan everything, they know how film works, which is really cool. And this is reading the image and is going with the image. And same with the grain. The grain is not the same in every frame. And that's why this system's so heavy on machines. The grain is different.
every time, which is really cool. And if you apply the same effect to another clip, or reapply this effect to the same clip, the grain will be different, which is amazing and sick. And it looks so much better than grain overlay because it's actually reading the shadows, midtones, and highlights and seeing where the grain needs to be. So that's cool. So yeah, you know, we got this, which looks cool. Even on anamorphic, looks really cool, gives a cool look. We got standard 16 mil, we got ultra 16, we got super 35, and then we got widescreen, and then we have my personal favorite, ultra panavision, which is really cool because it's showing the both top and bottom of video. And what's cool is that you can come here, you can flip the gates as well, which we're gonna switch back to Super 8 to show you. Flip the gate, so it's on the other side, which this is a static gate, which means the gate's just, like this isn't moving, but then we turn on, it is moving, so I like to have that off. There's sharp, you know, there's rounded. Sometimes I like to go rounded because it looks better, but I typically stay with normal just because I like the little roundness, not too much roundness. There's negative, positive, off. So I stick with negative, and then what's cool is that you can change the exposure of them as well, you know, around it. You can change the scale, which we'll get to in a second. And then something I like to do is defocus the skate just a little bit like that. And then we got scale here, which means we're gonna zoom in to get rid of these because I kind of don't want all that. It's a lot. And I wouldn't do this for the entire video, only be selected clips. So I would go like this, just to show this top and bottom, barely, just so it kind of adds a cool effect. Like, oh, this is shot on film. No, it wasn't, Martha. We got a vignette. I personally don't mess with vignettes. I mean, it's there, you know, I mean, if you want it. Now I'm gonna go here because I'm not liking it yet. I'm just gonna go here. We're gonna go to contrast, bring in some more contrast. We're gonna bring in the saturation a little bit, and we're gonna go to color boost like that. And bam, I think we're basically done with this image. All right guys, so I'm going to show you guys how to edit your photos within the Dehancer Lightroom plugin. Personally, I use Lightroom Mobile. It gets the job done for me. It's faster editing because I can do it on my MacBook or iPhone. Or if I'm editing a photo on my MacBook, need to dip out and leave my computer, I have it on my phone. I can just continue editing it off my phone. But this plugin's only for Lightroom Classic, so keep that in mind if you get this plugin. So we're gonna go ahead and open up Lightroom. I got a photo for us to edit. So anyways, here we are. I think honestly all this kind of needs is that we can bring up the shadows because the shadows are kind of just gone. Bring up the shadow some like that. Just gonna bring up the overall exposure low key. Bring down the whites, bring down the highlights. Keep that brightness of the image, but keep the dynamic range that's there. So this was shot, I think, in 6K, 4K or 6K on the Ricoh GR3. But yeah, I was gonna check the white balance here. There we go. Low key a little too magenta for my liking. Put this back at 0. And then bring this back up a little bit like that. And now we just right click on this, click edit in Dehancer Lightroom plugin. And then this, just hit edit. And then this will open up the software. So now we got a slew of film stocks to go through. We can do like, we have all film selected. We can also do, gotta check this. We got all film selected. We can do favorites, color negative, motion picture, color positive, black and white, instant, exotic, and cross, which is, you got a whole slew. You also got the film options like super, like Kodak 2383 print, stuff like that. But for this, I think we're just gonna stick with like the photo stock. So I really like Fuji. Low key, the Instax is kind of a vibe with this photo. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna favorite that. Black and white's kind of a vibe. That's been kind of my vibe recently, is black and white. Kodak, I like that. Oh man. Honestly, I'm gonna go with 800T. And what's cool is that you can push and pull this as well. Personally, I'm a big fan of like just the warm tones. I'm a big fan of warm tones, so. Exposure compensation, I'm honestly just not gonna mess with that. We're gonna boost some of these colors though. I want that yellow to pop. Gamma correction, Don't really need to do that. Contrast boost. I will say, when you hit this redo button, it redoes everything, so be careful with that. Bring that back up. Impact is kind of, you know, darken the image, lighten the image. Kind of affects the impact of the color that you're doing, so I don't like my blacks being crushed too much. I want to get this like a more vintage look. We got a print. We can change this again, which I should have did first. Didn't do that. We got the Fuji print. Ooh. We don't need that. We got Kodak glossy paper. 2383. I'm gonna go with the Fuji. I like that. I like that a lot. I'm gonna fix the black point a little bit. I'm gonna brighten this. Okay, from now this is where the main things come from. You can click show where we're clipping as well. So if you bring that down, you click show clipping, it'll show you where you're clipping. So that's cool, but I'm not gonna do that. We're gonna bring up this exposure a little bit. Saturation, yeah, this is looking good so far. Yellow, I do kind of want to bring the yellow up more. Yeah, that looks good. The blue's a little too strong though, not gonna lie. So I'm thinking, overall, I'm just gonna turn down this. You can do the highlight tones if you want to, which honestly, if you look at film, I have a Polaroid right there. If you look at film itself, if you shoot in like warm environments, everything is basically like, it's all warm across the board. Like even the highlights are pretty cool. I know that probably doesn't make sense to you, but like I'm talking about the shadows, the midtones, the highlight, there's color in all of it. And it's just all, like it's got an orange warm feeling to it. So we're gonna bring some of that warmth in there. Same with the midtones. Cause this is taking on a nice warm summer day. It was literally 80 degrees when I took this photo, so I wanna showcase that. We have the impact. I'm gonna lower that a little bit. Preserve exposure, whatever. Film grain. I'm gonna put this at, I'm a huge fan of 16. Halation, you can customize this as well. I'm not gonna do that. We're gonna go, I like a lot of halation, so we're gonna go Super 8 no gram jet. Wow, not that much halation. We're just gonna go Super 16. There we go. That's a good enough. Bloom, we can add some bloom in this. There's a lot happening. We're gonna turn that down a little bit and everything. Holy Jesus, okay. Now we got some film damage, which is kind of cool if you want that. It kind of adds some character to it. In my experience with using from my only experience using film has been Polaroid. I know I'm a poser. I use this Super Color 600 Business Edition, and some of the film in that gets destroyed. I've noticed, like on the corners and stuff like that. When it gets developed, there's little speckles in it. I kind of like it. I don't mind it. It adds character to the Polaroid, so I'll keep it at the 120 type. Vignette, I do like a good vignette, like a darker vignette. And yeah, that's kind of how we do that. And then you just hit, and then if you want to, you just hit favorite. And yeah, now we just hit OK, apply Dehancer, and boom. All the edits you just did are now in Lightroom. You can continue editing like normal. And I'm gonna change this aspect ratio. I'm gonna change it to I'm gonna do 4:5. But yeah, so that's how you use the Dehancer plugin for Lightroom. Low key, kind of prefer the photo plugin versus the video plugin, which is really interesting. Again, I think it just comes to that there's way too much going on in the video side of things. Just too much. But anyways.
Other than that, Dehancer is a great software. I definitely recommend giving it a try. It is expensive, but if you guys click the link down below, you get a discount. Alright guys, if you use discount code MichaelT24, you get 15% off, 10% off. Hold on. So if you use my discount code MichaelT24, you get 10% off your first year. So click that link down below, try out Dehancer, and yeah, that's all I have for me today. If you guys have any further questions, please let me know. And feel free to ask me in the comments or hit me up on Instagram. That's all from me today. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.